Hello everybody, welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today we're going to be making a cascading card. It's one of those that's a little bit difficult to show you in a 2D video. This is how it will look sitting on the shelf, sort of 3D wise, and this is how it will look, you know, as you're looking towards it. There's quite a few moving parts of it. There's quite a few measurements. As always, everything will be in the box below, the sizes and the dimensions and the order. It's not too complicated if you just cut the pieces and then follow along step by step. I think it's worth the effort. It's just such a fun card. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to be using Balmy Blue, and it starts with a base of 9.5 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 1 inch and 2 inches and 7.5 and 8.5. So it's, you know, an inch and another inch and an inch and another inch in from both sides. So we'll just give those a score. Let me just throw everything around while I find my bone folder. It's definitely something that needs the edges burnishing. So if you don't have a bone folder, I always think it's a worthwhile thing to do. You could perhaps just use the edge of your scissors, as long as you've given it a good sharp crease. So what we also need to do though is get rid of this bulk, because it will hide what is behind. So I'm just going to bring in the paper cutter, and I'm going to line it up at the 1 inch mark. The good thing about the Stampin' Up paper cutter is it has a little bit of measurements over the other side, so it allows the main body of what you're trying to cut to stay safely on the board, as opposed to it wobbling when it's over here. So we'll line it up at 1 inch, and we're just going to cut from the edge to the first score line, and then I suppose again from the edge up to the first score line, or from the first score line down. So we will put the paper cutter in. I'm actually going to stand up so I can see without my head requiring an audience. So we'll put it in at the 1 inch mark and move it up, and then we'll bring it down to the bottom and take it down. That's what we're going to cut first, and then I'm going to take my snips and we're going to cut from where we did that 1 inch cut diagonally across to the top of where the 2nd inch is cut. So just like that. And then again, we've got the 1 inch to the first score line, and from that score line, oops, up to the 2nd score line diagonally, just cut it with your scissors. So we end up with a piece that looks like this. Okay, that's those measurements. The next pieces are 2.5 by 3, and they've been scored at 3/4 inch and 1 3/4 inches. 1/4 inch, 1 3/4. These are the little pieces that give us the extending part, which allow it to cascade. So I'm just going to fold those on the crease lines and give them a good burnish, so they will, oops, they will look like this. Actually, one looks like an S, and the other one looks like a ZZ, and we need to attach that to these flaps. So what we're going to do is we're going to put glue. So this one on the left will be an S, and we're going to put glue on the back and attach it to the edge. Let me just go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to use the liquid glue because it's a moving part. It needs to sort of stay in place. Whoops, don't want too much glue because it will squidge out. So the S shape looks like an S, and we're going to close it down and put the edge on to the outside edge of this piece, which will give us our little extension. Whoops, my glue's. I normally say one of the good things about the glue is that it's forgiving and it will move. Well, that's all right until you don't want it to move anywhere. So just give it a quick second to become dry. You'll see there's an edge. Let me hold it up to the camera. You can see it's smaller than the piece it's attached to, but it doesn't matter because the next piece is going to hide that. So that was the S1. This one needs to be a ZZ. We're going to put glue on the back. And attach it to the edge. Just give it a quick little second to dry. So those are our two extension pieces. So the one that looks like an S goes to the outer edge of here, and the one that looks like a ZZ, we're doing the mirror image and it's going to the edge of the one over here. And again, you can see it's not the right size, but it really doesn't matter because it's going to get covered over with the next piece that we're going to put on. And the next piece we're going to put on is that we need two pieces of it. It's 2 3/4 by 3 5/8. That's the cardstock. And then we're going to put a piece of designer series paper on it, which is 2.5 by 3 3/8. So it's just the 1/8 layer, a little bit smaller. And this paper came out of the, oh, I forget what you call it now, Dainty. It's the celebration pack. 48 sheets of double-sided paper. This is absolutely fabulous. I love it. And it was free. I earned it by ordering enough stuff during celebration. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pop the designer series paper off to one side, and we're going to attach these pieces, and we're going to attach them where this piece doesn't fit, basically, where it's a little bit too small. So we'll put glue in there and line this up, butt it up against the fold and line it up with the bottom. So as long as it's tucked in as far as it can go, butt it up against the fold and lined up, whoops, with the bottom. And that's, oh my gosh, come on glue, you're normally so compliant and sticky. Perhaps I'm just being impatient. So we'll give it a little second and line it up. And then on the other side, we will do exactly the same. We'll put glue where that piece looks like it doesn't really fit. It doesn't, but it doesn't matter that it doesn't. And we will take the other piece and we will butt it up against the fold and line it up with the bottom and push it in, and remind ourselves that patience is a virtue. And if we just give it a quick second, it will hold really strongly, which is what we need, but we do have to give it a patient chance. To wait and set. So there we go. Now it's folded the gate. So the S fold has got its little piece and the ZZ fold has got its piece. And now we can go ahead and attach the designer series paper, and that we can just do with regular rolling adhesive, because this is just decoration. It's not actually the moving part has been stuck with the glue. So we'll pop that on each of those panels, and it just makes it look really nice and bright and cheerful. So that's that. The next step is to put the middle in, and that is a piece of basic white, and it is 5 3/8 by 4. So we're just going to decorate it. I can see a little bit of shiny glue there, and make it look good. So I'm going to use the Playing in the Rain set. So I'm going to pop some clouds on, and I'm going to use Smoky Slate, because even though they're rain clouds, we don't want them to look too dark and oppressive. We'll just make them look somewhat grayish. So we'll peel that off and pop it back in the box, and then we're going to use our little friend the turtle, and I'm going to stamp him with Memento ink. Pop him over on the left hand side, and then I'm going to colour him with the alcohol markers. I recently did a video, and I love these markers because they're so quick and forgiving. So I'm just going to use the lightest Daffodil yellow, and the nice thing about these markers is that when you lift the marker off the page and put it back down, you don't get lines like you can do with regular markers. So we'll do him in yellow, then we'll take the lightest Old Olive and colour his shell. It's really quick and easy. It's great and so forgiving, so you don't have to be a master colourer. You don't have to worry that your kindergarten teacher is going to come and tut at you. And then we'll colour the flower real quickly using Flirty Flamingo Light and Dark. Give it a little bit of shade, and then I'm going to use the really light Balmy Blue and just give him a little shadow under his feet. And then we'll use the Balmy Blue ink pad and pop it onto the acrylic block, and this one says, "Oh, happy day." And then everything coordinates, which is just great. It's one of the best things about Stampin' Up is that the cardstock and the inks and the markers and everything, the designer series paper, everything, the matching is all taken care of for you. So we're going to pop this inside the card. Oops. So when your lucky recipient opens it, it will all match. And then there's just a little space left for signing. And then the last thing to do is to put something on the front. So what I did was I took, again, the same Playing in the Rain stamp set, and I stamped Miss Fox and Little Miss Bunny, and I stamped them with the Memento ink and coloured them with the markers. But rather than you have to sit and watch me do that multiple times over, I thought I would show you how great they are colouring the turtle, and then do the whole By the Power of YouTube and Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier. So we'll just layer this on. These pieces are 2 1/4 by 3 1/8, and then the white is 2 by 2 7/8. But of course, like I said, all the directions and the measurements will be in the description box below, so you don't have to worry. I just like to sort of mention it as we go along. So we'll put a nice bar of sticky on both of these front panels. And then we will line up the edge of the panel with the edge of, so it just fits edge to edge. And then we'll pop the bunny on her edge, line it up with the edge, and then line it up with the bottom, of course, so it all looks nice and even. And there you have it. So we've got the two little critters at the front, the lovely designer series paper. I must be honest and say I took my inspiration from the designer series paper because it looks like big drops of rain. And then when you open it up, you've got a little friend of theirs inside with a little bit of rain cloud, and it just says, "Oh, happy day." So that's it, my lovelies. Cascading card. It's a little bit of work, it's a little bit of measuring, but like I said, I think the effort is worth it because it's just such a fabulous outcome. So if you like what you've seen, please go ahead and subscribe. If you ring the bell, it will let you know that it's Tuesday, if nothing else, because, you know, Technique Tuesday. I like likes, I like comments. If you want to pass a comment or ask a question, I'll always reply to you. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.